So potatoes are one of those staple crops which I must grow in my allotment. We really love potatoes, and there are a million things that you can do with a potato. And now that it's the middle of March, I'm going to be sowing my Kestrel potatoes, my second earlies, and I'm going to be doing them in the polytunnel because it's still quite cold outside. It's 14th of March, and we've had quite a few frosts and quite a lot of snow showers as well. We've been having wintry showers all day, so this polytunnel should be enough to protect these young potato plants from the frost, and then around April May time I will then move them outside. Now these are second earlies, like I said, and the variety is called Kestrel. And you can plant these between middle of March to sort of like the middle of May. So I probably am a tad bit early, but I can get these grown now because I've got the polytunnel. And then in around about 3 or 4 weeks' time, I will then do my main crop potatoes, which I've got Sarpomera, Satanta, and some King Edwards, as well as quite a few other random bits of seed potatoes from what I saved last year. I managed to save quite a few of those and overwinter them. So I think I'm going to be doing that much more in the future, saving my seed potatoes. I'm going to be planting my potatoes this year in buckets. I've got about 40 of these 30-litre buckets, which you can get from Oakland Gardens. They're really good. Um, I've been using them for years for many other things, but for this year I'm going to be doing them in buckets because last year I had a really big problem with wireworm in the ground, and all the potatoes which I grew in the buckets were completely untouched. So it's definitely going to be buckets from now on with me, and I'm going to just go through what I'm doing and how I'm planting my potatoes in these buckets. So keep on watching to find out. But before we get into the video and I plant these Kestrel secondary potatoes, remember to hit that subscribe button so you can see when I upload new content just like this one. So I've got my 6 buckets all lined up here ready, and the way I'm doing it this year is I'm going to be using horse manure in my buckets. Now, the bottom third of each one of these buckets was filled with horse manure last autumn, so it's been left to sit for about 5 months. So it's not fresh, it's broken down a little bit. I think if it was much fresher than this, I would have a problem with scab, but I think I'll be alright. I'm going to be using these, and this is going to provide our potatoes with nutrients. And it also helps cut down the cost of compost as well. In fact, I'm not really going to be using bagged compost for this. I'm probably just going to put a layer on the top. But for the most part, I'm using recycled compost, and it's the horse manure which is going to provide the nutrients. So I've got my Kestrel potatoes here, and they've been left to chit now for a few weeks' time. I probably could let the chits get a little bit bigger. They're probably only about 1 to 2 centimeters big. They are quite small, but I'm getting these planted now while I have time because I'm quite busy at the moment with many different things. We've just moved house for a start, so that's takes up enough time on its own. So I've got my bucket here, and Kestrel are a determinate potato variety, which means that they don't grow as vigorously as a main crop potato. You don't get as many, and they're not going to be as big. But that also means that you don't need to earth them up either. With main crop potatoes, you would earth them up, and then the plant would send out side shoots up the stem, a little bit like a tomato would send out side shoots, sort of send out roots from the stem as well. And on each one of those roots, there will be a potato. So that is why you earth up your main crop potatoes as they grow. But with these Kestrel determinate potatoes, I'm going to be planting them on 2 different levels. I'm going to be planting 4 in a bucket, and I'm going to be planting 2 deeper, and then 2 more a little bit further up. So there's 2 different levels that I'm growing these potatoes on, and I'm not going to be earthing them up. With my main crop potatoes, I'm going to be doing 2 per bucket, and I will be earthing them up. I'll be planting them quite deep, and then I'll be gradually adding compost in as they grow. So I don't need to earth these up. And all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be placing 2 potatoes with the chips facing up if I can. Oh, and another thing as well, you can have as many chips as you want on these as well. With my main crop potatoes, I'm going to be removing all the excess chips and probably only having 2 chips per potato because I want some nice big main crop potatoes. But with the Kestrel determinate second earlies, it doesn't make any difference really because you're only going to get relatively small potatoes anyway. You're not going to get big massive ones. So I've got my 2 potatoes in there and I'm just going to use some of this old compost like this. And I'm also going to put a couple of handfuls of fresh compost in as well, just to add a little bit extra to it so it's not all old spent compost. A handful of it in there. This is Wilco's multi-purpose compost, by the way, nothing expensive or fancy. And I'm going to put a little handful of Growmore in there as well, just like that. A bit more of this compost. Okay, and then so I've put my 2 potatoes there like that, and I'm going to grab another 2 potatoes and I'm going to place them in the other direction, so they're alternating, so there's 2 that way further down and there's 2 that way. So the idea is there's 2 different levels that they're growing on, so we're getting as much out of the space as we possibly can. Tiny bit more Growmore on top of there. A bit more of this compost on top. Okay, and it is as simple as that. Potatoes are so easy, you could literally just throw it in the ground and it will grow. There is nothing really complicated about it, to be honest. Yeah. all filled up with Kestrel potatoes, 4 in each bucket, 2 on a lower level and then 2 on a higher level. I've reused a lot of the compost from last year's bucket grown potatoes. I've mixed in a little bit of shop bought compost. I've not even used a full 50-litre bag. I've probably only used about 35-40 litres. There's still quite a bit left there. And the bottom third of the bucket is some rotted horse manure. And I've mixed in a little bit of grow more as well, just to give it a little bit of a boost. Now, with these being determinate potatoes, they grow quite shallow. Well, the top ones anyway will grow, because they only grow on one level, they're quite shallow growing, at least the top layer anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get some straw and I'm going to apply that as a mulch, and that'll help prevent the sunlight from reaching the tubers and turning them green. Potatoes turn green due to a chemical called solanine, and they're not good to eat. They are toxic, and yeah, that's all due to sunlight exposure. So I want to make sure that these tubers aren't exposed to the sunlight. And another thing, another reason why I'm mulching is because with them being grown in buckets, it can be quite difficult to keep on top of watering sometimes, especially during hot weather. They can dry out quite quick. So mulching the top of our buckets with straw is going to help with watering quite a lot. Eventually it will also break down into the soil and add nutrients, but that's further down the line. But yeah, they're the two main reasons. Stopping them potatoes from turning green because of the sun, and helping us with watering as well. Now, I used some wood chip as well as straw last year as some mulch, and I do like using wood chip for stuff outside, not in buckets, that I'm not going to be tipping out in just a couple of months' time like these potatoes. I found it was quite a pain, because wood chips don't break down anywhere near as fast as straw does, so I found it to be quite a pain picking all the wood chips from the top. I like to just pour them all out and have no messing around really. So I'm just going to apply this on here. There is little bits of manure in there, but I'm not too bothered about that. That's fine. This was horse bedding. So this straw also acts as a little bit more frost protection as well. If there is a hard frost forecast, rather than having to fleece up the potatoes in the polytunnel, I could just, any little shoots that are coming up, I could just cover them over with the straw, and that'll help protect the tops of the potato tuber. Sorry, the shoots a little bit. And going back to horse manure, like I said, there is a little bit on the bottom of here, the bottom third of the bucket. A lot of people have commented and have been saying that there's been a lot of problems with aminopyralid, and that is becoming quite a common problem. Luckily for us, the horse manure which we have delivered is from a trusted source and doesn't contain any nasty chemicals such as aminopyralid. I've been using this horse manure now this will be the 4th season, so and I've not had any problems with aminopyralid herbicide damage, so I'm confident that yeah, there's none of that. So yeah. But if you're not sure whether or not the horse manure is safe and isn't infected with herbicide, say if there's nobody you can ask and check with, it's a good idea to just take a sample of it and plant a broadleaf plant such as a bean, a tomato, or a squash or a pumpkin plant, because they're quite sensitive to herbicides like aminopyralids. So you'll know if they're infected with it. You'll have like curling of leaves, and the leaves will look quite mottled or skeletonized. Anyway, before I go off on a tangent, I'm just going to water in these potatoes. I'm going to give them a good water because the soil was quite dry. So there's nothing much else here really to see. So that's the Kestrel second early determinate potatoes now planted in these 30-litre buckets. So come back in a couple of months' time where I'll be doing a reveal. I'm also going to be planting our main crop potatoes in probably the beginning of April. So come back for that, and I'll be going through how I do my main crop potatoes. Okay, so that is all the potatoes done. Thank you for watching. Come back in a couple of months and I will do a potato reveal, and I'm also going to be planting my main crop potatoes around early April as well. I'm also doing them in buckets, and I've got roughly 30 to 35 30-litre buckets for all those, so that's going to be fun. I don't even know where I'm going to put them actually, to be honest. I need to squeeze them in somewhere. So anyway, thank you for watching, and if you like this video, then remember to smash that like button so that YouTube knows to suggest this video to other like-minded users as well. And remember to subscribe as well so you can see more videos when I upload them. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Happy gardening and stay safe.